Hello and welcome. In this video we're going to have a look at the biggest mistakes a lot of beginners do when it comes to cold outreach, marketing, sales, scaling a business. But in general also, like if you want to achieve some goal and you register and sometimes pay less, sometimes pay a lot of money for masterminds, communities, school.com. There's various things in various countries, different platforms and masterminds and all sorts of things. So you can easily, like with a lot of masterminds, communities and so forth, you can easily spend a lot of money, like sometimes 4 figures, sometimes even 5-figure sums just for education. And that's not a bad thing, but there are some things you should always bear in mind, and there's some lower quality and there's some higher quality communities and masterminds and educational groups and so forth out there. And I'm going to talk to you about what you, especially when you're a beginner and you're not so used to these groups and don't really know what to pay attention in order to get the best out of it. Okay, we're going to have a look at this in this video. Talk to you soon in a minute. Hello, I paid probably some £10,000 in my life for further education, which is purely digital. So, you know, just registering in a community, in a school.com club, or like a reoccurring fee or a one-off fee or something like that for sometimes just $100 or less, or sometimes it's like 2,000, sometimes it's even more. I think the highest course that I paid or education that I paid for was like a cycle.io community kind of thing. Back then it was even Facebook. It was around like £5,000–6,000 £6,000. I would hardly recommend you to always take in mind like certain things before choosing, and also choosing but picking on the things that are important and that bring you forward in general. And today I was in one of these communities and there was like a really long thread, and it was basically talking about Apollo.io. So Apollo.io has become very expensive recently, so like data is the gold, you know, and they provide you B2B data and so on and so on, you know, emails, contacts and so on. So as we are here like a cold outreach expert, and for the IT industry especially, this is, you might think this is a really valid platform, even though it's expensive. It is, on the one hand, the quality is not that great because it's slightly always out of date, and it's really, really hard to keep B2B data up to date, and you see that very well if you are like on Sales Navigator and you have like so-called saved lists. And if you, let's say, save a list of, let's say, just 1,000 contacts or something, you know, so you filter and then you save up your list, just 1,000 contacts, and you revisit that list depending on who you saved, what kind of jobs they are and everything. But we target C-level, and even on C-level, so we imagine you have like a saved up list of contacts on a C-level, like CEO, CMO, COO, CTO, CIOs and so on. And only like 7 days later, you have like the little update sign, and it says like 28 contacts out of that list have already changed job title or something else, you know. So LinkedIn would give you this information, but Apollo is not that really up to date. I never really used too much Apollo.io, and now I'm coming back to this really long thread in this community where it said, well, we used to have a workaround with Apify, and you know, where we basically use a certain search URL from Apollo, and then we scrape it through like Apify, like through an API, through a different tool, which is a lot less expensive and so on. So these little hacks that are basically what you do, yeah, you cheat, yeah. So basically, you say like, oh well, I'm using the search filter functionality of one platform, but I'm not paying them for providing me with the filter platform functionality. I pay another to scrape the internet for that and so on. So basically, and this is like these kind of like sort of hacks, and you can like, I would like to see this from a broader view. Everything is like this kind of like workaround, hacks, tricks, sales tricks, marketing hacks, and all this kind of stuff. It's always with like it's always like labeled with a certain timestamp. And this timestamp might be just a few days or a few weeks or maybe a few months, but it's a very short-term timestamp. Why? Because, these communities, they're usually big. So there's like thousands of people in there. And they even make like public YouTube videos about it, how they figured out how to have a workaround from Apollo and everything. Apollo is a fairly big company, so they watch these videos as well, and they will find ways to work around that workaround, so they cannot cheat anymore. So and so it's like this rabbit chase, this constant chase after some rabbit, and maybe you catch it and then it's gone again and so on. So there's so much energy into this. And my advice, to make this video very short, every hack, every sales trick, marketing hack or workaround or whatever is basically out there. And sometimes it's just on the YouTube, but sometimes it's like you need to pay for, like in a community or something like that. It's part of some educational mastermind or whatever. Is not really, and everybody is doing it, so is not really something sustainable. If you want to have like sustainable methods to scale up and build up your, in this case, growth, like marketing and sales activities, and maybe you're like an agency like we are, and you have clients you do that for, it's even more important. I would always look out for the things that not everybody is doing, okay? This is very important. So find your own ways and methods that work for your niche, for your industry, for your target audience, for your geographical audience, etc., and then try to become absolute perfect in that method. And very important, don't share it with anybody. Don't share it. You know what I mean? And because I was like then posting in this thread and I was saying like, well, I never really worked too much with Apollo because I saw that coming. And then somebody else replied and was like, okay, Thomas, what kind of methods are you using? And then I replied to him, why would I tell this in this thread where it's like 15,000 other people so that they can copy me? It's like, I'm not even getting paid for it. It's really kind of like this, what I'm saying, like, this go with the crowd and be stupid kind of thing. It's like when, and the bigger the crowd, the less intelligent usually. You know what I mean? So there's like some psychology aspects of it. You can Google it and research it on your own, but they play a role as well. So this is my advice to you. Find your own ways, And when it comes to hacks and methods and all these kind of things, and there are some out there, but if you found them, don't share it with anybody. And if you're thinking of, okay, I'm going to open up a mastermind and sell this idea for a bunch of money, then a lot of people are going to use it, and the more people they're going to are using it, the sooner it's going to be out of date. So you're going to make some money, but only very short term with this one idea, for example. So it's much better to keep it for yourself and use it as long as possible. We have some sales methods that hardly anybody yet discovered, and we're using tools that nobody talks about. I don't see it much. If I search the term in YouTube, there's hardly any videos. And that is my sign of, Thomas, you've done right. You bet on the right tools when it comes especially to these workarounds. I'm not talking about HubSpot or whatever, And so we do use like HubSpot, Pipedrive, and all these big tools and everything. Fine, Asana, CRMs, whatever, ERPs. But I'm talking about these little hacks and tricks and these little, nifty things. It will take you some time to figure them out and to make them actually work so they're profitable for whatever the thing you do out there. And then keep them, safeguard them, hide them from the crowds. Don't make a YouTube video and tell it to everybody just so you get some followers. That's the silliest, dumbest thing you could possibly do. I don't really give a fuck about how many followers I have, or how many, whatever, people in the community. For me, it's important that I do sustainable business relationships that are constantly growing with my core clients. So we grow together for all eternity. until somebody says it's business. And then we do the next thing. This is the really thing that you're going to become wealthy and rich and have like financial independence one day. Okay, it's not this little tiny hacks and little we call it in Germany, we call it straw fire, hay fire, so like you give it some fire, it does some fire, but only for 1 minute, and then you need to search for new stuff to make again some fire. We want like briquettes, we want like a fire that slowly is growing and it's having a lot of heat for many times, okay, for a lot of time. Okay. My English is a little bit poor because I just came out of the gym, so I'm not that focused anymore, and it's late at night. So see you later, and peace out. I hope I could help you with some details. And the next thing is gonna be again about LinkedIn. Ciao. So this is just a quick appetizer of some of the many books that I wrote in my life. If it comes to, scaling up startups, this is like the Lean Startups from Eric Ries, or Rice, whatever you pronounce it. Really good book, and he's been, which is really important. He's been a CTO for a very long time, and these are usually the technical CEOs that manage to basically combine two fields that a lot of people have problems with, like the business side with the technical side. And this is basically, especially now in the times of AI, when everything is going to be done by AI in terms of like coding and things like that, that you also understand the business side of things. At the same time, the technical side of things, and if you combine these combined skills, they're like when you put like two things together, two ingredients, when you cook a dinner or something, and like the ingredient on its own tastes like nothing, but if you combine it, it tastes like super, it becomes a meal. And so the meal is worth like 20, 30, 100 times more than the ingredients on its own, so this is like the type of guy here. And so like there's many others, but here then the Internet Trap is a really hard book about what to take care of so that you don't get lost. And social selling and marketing, this is like snacking in the tube, in the metro or whatever, when you wait for your train or whatever, when you're going to the campus, or if you're a student or something like that. I would really recommend that. It's like only £9.99, or if you're in the US, €12.99. So it's basically less than a cappuccino, I believe, in London. It's like, like large cappuccino, latte macchiatos, around £10 in London City, I would say. So these are the books I recommend to you, and then I wish you much fun with this, and I hope you see you again in the next video on this YouTube channel when it's about scaling IT experts. See you, bye-bye.